Life can feel overwhelming with all the stuff we accumulate, physically and mentally. But here's the thing, you don't need to become a full-blown minimalist to simplify your life. In this video, we'll dive into 10 practical rules that will help you declutter, make smarter decisions, and live more intentionally, without giving up everything. From understanding why you buy things, to making sure your space only holds what brings you joy, these tips will help you streamline your life in a way that feels right for you. Ready to free up space and focus on what really matters? Let's get started. Minimalism had always sounded appealing. Clean, clutter-free life that promised more focus, less stress, and a stronger sense of purpose. So I gave it a shot, committing to a minimalist lifestyle for around 2.5 years. At first, the idea of owning less was refreshing, almost like a mental detox. I started small, clearing out closets, donating unused items, and challenging myself to only keep the essentials. It felt good to break free from the chaos of too much stuff. But over time, minimalism started to feel restrictive. There were moments where I missed certain comforts, things I'd given up in the pursuit of less. While the lifestyle helped me cut down on distractions and focus on personal growth, it also sometimes felt like I was depriving myself of things that genuinely made me happy. This period taught me a lot about discipline and essentialism, but it wasn't always as simple as I'd expected. Balancing between living with less and not missing out became a constant juggling act. However, I can't deny the mental clarity minimalism brought into my life. With fewer distractions around me, it was easier to focus on growth, both mentally and emotionally. I spent more time on self-development, exploring philosophies like Stoicism and the teachings of Nietzsche and Schopenhauer, which deepened my self-knowledge. It also improved my mental well-being. Anxiety started to fade, and I had more headspace to be proactive. I realized minimalism wasn't just about physical clutter, it was about clearing mental clutter too. Still, despite its benefits, minimalism wasn't the perfect fit for me long-term. It gave me great insight into what's truly important, but I knew I needed to find a middle ground. That's when I started exploring ways to live more intentionally without adhering strictly to minimalist rules. This leads into the next topic, how to live with purpose and intention without being a minimalist. Living intentionally is like putting yourself in the driver's seat of your own life. It's about making choices that align with your values, rather than just going with the flow or giving in to impulse. Even after stepping away from minimalism, I've kept this mindset, especially when it comes to how I spend my time and money. It's easy to get swept up in consumer culture, but before buying anything, I always ask myself, do I really need this? That simple question often saves me from impulse buys that would just clutter my space and mind. When I started thinking more intentionally, I realized how much unnecessary stuff I had been bringing into my life, both physical items and commitments. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about only saying yes to the things that truly add value. This way, you reduce mental burnout and even avoid regrets down the line. Instead of chasing every trend or saying yes to every invite, I learned to filter out the noise. Focus on what matters, whether that's personal growth, mental well-being, or self-improvement. Intentional living also brings more clarity to everyday decisions. When you stop to consider the why behind your choices, you start prioritizing things that align with your long-term goals. This doesn't just apply to purchases, but to how you spend your time, energy, and focus. In a world filled with distractions, this approach helps you stay grounded. You're less likely to fall into the trap of overcommitting or filling your life with things you'll later regret. It's about proactivity, not reactivity. The beauty of intentional living is that it's not about being extreme. You don't need to get rid of everything or say no to every opportunity. You just need to be mindful. When you act with intention, you optimize your existence. Next up, let's talk about how the concept of buy nice or buy twice plays into this mindset and can help you make smarter, more disciplined financial decisions. We've all been there, buying something cheap only for it to break down or wear out in no time. It's tempting to go for the less expensive option, especially when you're trying to save money, but in the long run, it often ends up costing more. That's where the idea of buy nice or buy twice comes in. It's a reminder that quality is an investment, And sometimes spending a little more upfront can save you from constantly having to replace low-quality items. It's not about luxury, it's about making thoughtful, disciplined choices. When I embraced this mindset, it changed how I approached everything. From clothes to tech to furniture. Instead of hunting for the cheapest option, I started looking for well-made items that would last. Sure, it hurt a little to spend more at first, but I quickly realized it was worth it. Those quality items didn't need to be replaced as often. It meant less stress and fewer shopping trips. Plus, owning fewer, better things brought a sense of calm and order to my space. It's like digital minimalism for your stuff. This approach directly into personal growth. When you focus on making smarter choices with your purchases, it spills over into other areas of life. You start thinking more long-term and less about instant gratification. It's not just about having nice things, it's about the discipline of waiting for the right item and not settling for less. This builds a mindset of proactivity and self-improvement, where you're not just reacting to what's in front of you, but making intentional choices for your future. The best part is, this philosophy doesn't just apply to stuff. It applies to decisions in general. Whether it's relationships, career moves, or even self-development practices, the idea is to invest wisely. Up next, let's dive into the mindset of saying no when something isn't a hell yes, and how this can drastically reduce clutter, stress, and regret in your life. One of the most freeing mindsets I've adopted is the hell yes or no approach. Simple. If you're not super excited or convinced about something, whether it's a new purchase, a social event, or even an opportunity, it's a no. This filter helps you avoid cluttering your life with things, commitments, or relationships that don't truly matter. It's about protecting your time, energy, and mental well-being. If something doesn't spark that genuine enthusiasm, why waste precious resources on it? This mindset has helped me cut down on both physical and mental clutter. When you're constantly saying yes to things you're only half invested in, it leaves you feeling drained. The more you say yes to things you don't really want, the less room you have for the things that actually excite or fulfill you. It's a fast track to burnout, and I've experienced that firsthand. By being more selective, I started feeling more in control and less overwhelmed by unnecessary commitment. Applying this philosophy to purchases has also been a game changer. It's easy to justify small, meaningless buys, but they add up, both financially and in terms of clutter. Now, when I'm unsure about something, I ask myself, am I absolutely thrilled about this? If the answer isn't a clear hell yes, I walk away. This doesn't just save money. It also keeps my space clear of things that don't add real value to my life. It ties into a bigger picture of living more intentionally and staying focused on personal growth. But this mindset goes beyond stuff. It works for decisions, relationships, and commitment. Saying no to things that don't light you up creates more space for the things that do. And with more space comes more energy for personal success, self-improvement, and even mental well-being. Up next, let's look at how decluttering before organizing makes life easier and keeps you from simply shuffling your problems around. The truth is, organization gets a lot easier once you've tackled the real problem: clutter. Most of the time, we think we need better storage solutions or new ways to organize our stuff. But the real issue is that we just have too much. When I first started decluttering, I was surprised by how much stuff I didn't even need. Trying to organize it all would have been like trying to put a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. So I learned the hard way: before you even think about organizing, get rid of what you don't need. Decluttering goes beyond physical items. It's about simplifying all areas of your life, from your digital space to your commitments. Once you clear out the excess, you realize that most of the organizational stress you had was simply because there was too much to manage. When I let go of unnecessary things, not only did my space feel lighter, so did my mind. I felt less anxiety because there was less stuff to worry about. It's a form of self-improvement, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. The process itself is a discipline in self-knowledge and personal growth. Deciding what to keep and what to let go of forces you to ask questions like, does this still serve me? Or is this helping me grow? Once you declutter, you don't just gain more physical space, you gain mental clarity and freedom. Organizing becomes easier, and you feel more in control of your environment. The chaos is gone, and what's left are the essentials, things that actually add value to your life. After decluttering, organizing feels more intentional. You're not just shuffling things around, hoping they'll fit. You're placing what's truly important in the right spots. Next, we'll explore how using a wish list and waiting before making purchases helps curb impulse buys and keeps your newly decluttered space from filling back up with unnecessary items. In a world where online shopping is just a click away, it's easy to fall into the trap of impulsive buying. I used to make quick purchases without much thought, only to regret them later. That's when I started using the wish list and wait technique, and it's been a game changer. Whenever I find something I think I want, instead of buying it right away, I add it to a wish list. Then I wait. Whether it's a week, a month, or longer, this waiting period helps me figure out if I really need the item, or if it was just a passing temptation. What's surprising is how often that initial must-have feeling fades after some time. I've noticed that many things I would have bought on impulse didn't actually serve a purpose in my life. This technique not only saves money, but also helps me stay more disciplined and intentional with my spending. It's a great way to avoid clutter, both physical and mental, and keeps your environment focused on growth and personal development. Waiting also adds a layer of appreciation to the things you do end up purchasing. By the time I buy something, it's because I've thought about it, and I know it's going to add value to my life. This shift in mindset helps align with a philosophy of essentialism, only keeping what's necessary and what truly serves a purpose. Plus, it boosts mental well-being because you're not constantly chasing after things that give you a temporary dopamine hit. Instead, you're focused on long-term satisfaction. This approach naturally complements the decluttering mindset we talked about earlier. Once your space is clear, you don't want to refill it with things you don't really need. By using a wish list and waiting, you can ensure that what you bring into your life is intentional and aligned with your goals. Next, let's dive into the importance of having a designated place for everything and how it helps maintain that sense of order and simplicity. One of the most effective habits I've picked up is making sure that everything I own has a designated place. It sounds simple, but it's a game changer when it comes to keeping your space tidy and your mind clear. When every item has its spot, there's no need to constantly reorganize or shuffle things around. It becomes automatic. Once you're done using something, you know exactly where it belongs. This cuts down on clutter and saves time because you're not wasting energy figuring out where to put things. Having a place for everything also reduces decision fatigue. Every time you come home with groceries, clothes, or even something as small as a notebook, you don't have to think about where it's going to live. You just put it in its designated spot. This habit frees up mental space and allows you to focus on more important areas of personal development, like improving social skills, building confidence, or enhancing self-knowledge. It's the little routines that often create the biggest impact on mental well-being. This strategy is about more than just tidiness. It's about creating a sense of order in your life. When your environment is organized, it's easier to maintain that same clarity in your thoughts and actions. You'll find that you're less likely to feel overwhelmed or anxious when your space is neat. And because everything has a place, you'll spend less time searching for lost items or stressing over clutter. It's an easy win for your personal growth journey and optimizing your daily existence. The beauty of this practice is that it ties back into being proactive. By ensuring that every item has its place, you're setting yourself up for success in the long run. Instead of constantly reacting to messes or disorganization, you're staying ahead of the game. Next, let's explore how avoiding purchases that create new problems can prevent unnecessary stress and keep life running smoothly. It's easy to think that buying something will solve a problem, but sometimes that purchase can create even bigger issues. I've learned this the hard way. Getting something that seems useful at first, only to realize it needs maintenance, accessories, or creates clutter I didn't anticipate. This is the essence of don't buy a problem. Before making a purchase, it's important to think ahead and consider if that item will actually improve your life or just add more to your plate. One classic example is buying a new piece of tech. You think it'll simplify your life, but soon you realize it needs updates, extra cables, or special software, and suddenly, you've created a hassle instead of solving the original problem. The same goes for things like furniture, kitchen gadgets, or even clothes that require special care. These purchases often seem like solutions but end up complicating things further. By thinking about these potential issues up front, you can save yourself time, money, and stress. This approach also ties into the concept of essentialism and self-discipline. Instead of reacting to every need or desire with a purchase, it's about thinking critically and being intentional. Does this item solve a problem without creating new ones? Will it simplify your life, or will it require more time, effort, and resources to maintain? This mindset not only helps you avoid clutter, but also boosts your focus on personal growth and mental well-being. You'll find yourself making fewer, smarter decisions that align with long-term goals. By being proactive in your purchases and avoiding those that create more problems, you're effectively streamlining your life. Less hassle, less stress, and more room for what truly matters. Up next, let's talk about having a clear why, or making a purchase, and how understanding your motivations can lead to more intentional, rewarding decisions. Before you hit that buy button or swipe your card, have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you're making the purchase? This simple question can make all the difference between intentional spending and falling into the trap of impulse buying. Having a clear why behind your purchases helps you stay focused on what truly matters and keeps you from cluttering your life with things that don't align with your goals. It's not just about the item, it's about what purpose it serves in your life. If the why isn't strong, it might be best to hold off. When I started practicing this, I realized how often I bought things just out of habit or boredom. I wasn't thinking about how they'd fit into my life long term. Now, before buying anything, I ask myself questions like, is this going to improve my daily routine? Or does this align with my personal growth goals? If I can't answer those questions confidently, I usually pass. This simple shift has saved me money and helped me stay focused on self-improvement rather than accumulating stuff. This approach isn't about depriving yourself. It's about being more mindful. When you understand why you want something, the decision becomes clearer, and you're less likely to make impulsive buys that lead to regret. Whether it's investing in a quality item that will last, or holding off until you've saved enough, knowing your motivation behind a purchase allows you to make decisions that align with your values. It's also a great way to reduce anxiety and guilt that often come with unnecessary spending. The beauty of having a why before buying is that it encourages proactivity and self-discipline. You're no longer just reacting to desires or trends. You're making thoughtful, intentional choices that serve your personal development. Next, let's explore the Spark Joy Rule, inspired by Marie Kondo, and how only keeping things that bring joy can further simplify your life. The Spark Joy Rule, made popular by Marie Kondo, is a simple yet powerful guideline. Only keep or buy things that genuinely make you happy. It's more than just a decluttering technique. It's a way of life that focuses on emotional value. I started applying this rule not only when clearing out my space, but also before making new purchases. If an item doesn't spark joy, I don't bring it into my life. This mindset goes beyond physical objects. It's about surrounding yourself with things that align with your happiness and personal growth. What surprised me the most was how much easier it became to let go of things that didn't serve a purpose anymore. When I held on to something just out of obligation or sentimentality, it cluttered both my space and my mind. But by focusing on what brings joy, I was able to create a more intentional and uplifting environment. This also extends to the way I spend money. When I choose items that truly spark joy, I don't feel buyer's remorse or regret. Instead, those items become valued parts of my life. Applying the Spark Joy Rule has also helped me focus on mental well-being and self-development. The form of self-knowledge, understanding what truly makes you happy and what's just filling space. When your surroundings reflect your inner values, it's easier to stay motivated and focused on personal success. Whether it's a comfortable chair that supports your work-from-home setup, or a well-made jacket that makes you feel confident, these items enhance your daily experience. This rule encourages you to be more intentional and proactive with your choices. It's not about owning less for the sake of it, but about curating a life that brings genuine joy. Up next, let's talk about financial discipline and why paying for things in full is a powerful tool for long-term success and mental peace. There's something empowering about paying for something in full. The strong signal that you've planned for the purchase, saved intentionally, and made a conscious decision. If you can't afford an item outright, it's usually a sign that you should wait. This mindset fosters financial discipline and prevents you from getting trapped in debt or unnecessary payments. It's not always easy, but the rewards, both financially and mentally, are worth it. By adopting the pay in full rule, I've become much more selective about what I buy. Forces me to think long-term and be patient, which has led to fewer impulse buys and more intentional spending. There's also a certain peace of mind that comes from knowing you won't have to deal with ongoing payments or interest charges. You've already made the purchase, and it's fully yours, no strings attached. This kind of financial clarity contributes to mental well-being and reduces the anxiety that often comes with debt. Financial discipline, in this sense, is directly tied to personal growth. It teaches you the value of patience, delayed gratification, and making thoughtful decisions. Instead of jumping at the first opportunity to buy something on credit or through financing, you give yourself the time to assess whether the purchase truly aligns with your priorities. In many cases, waiting also gives you the chance to reconsider if the item is even necessary at all, which ties back to intentional living and optimizing your existence. The habit of paying in full also creates a sense of control and responsibility. You're no longer dependent on payment plans or accumulating debt. Instead, you're taking charge of your finances and making decisions that contribute to long-term success. Up next, we'll wrap things up with a powerful CTA, call to action, keep you moving forward on your personal development journey.